Pennsylvania Avenue.
So if President Trump is such a threat, if this case is so urgent, why not send impeachment to the Senate right away?
Well, first of all, Chris, did you really think the United States Senate was going to start this trial before January 6th? You have no idea what's going to happen in the next 2 weeks as the leaders are trying to negotiate what's going to happen. And as I remind you, Republican impeachment with President Bill Clinton, the managers weren't appointed until January 6th. I hope that the leaders are going to continue to talk. I think this was one of the hardest votes, I think, and one of the most important votes I'll cast in my career, however long it may be. And it was about protecting our national security. I did not come out for this impeachment last summer under enormous pressure from Tom Steyer buying 40 ads and MoveOn.org because I was worried about the division in this country. But it became very clear there was a danger to our national security. There was a danger to our democracy. And that's why we are aware of what's happening and have to protect it as we go into this next year's election.
Okay, but you certainly would agree. You say, well, it always is a delay over between Christmas and New Year's, but Nancy Pelosi has made it clear she's hoping that by holding it up, it creates some leverage that will allow Chuck Schumer to make a deal with Mitch McConnell on the ground rules for the trial. The question is, why does she think she has any leverage here? The president and top Republicans say she's threatening not to give them something they don't want anyway. Take a look.
They don't want to put them in because they're ashamed of them, because it's what they've done is wrong and it's bad for the country.
It looks like the prosecutors are getting cold feet in front of the entire country and second guessing whether they even want to go to trial.
And one of the Democratic witnesses before House Judiciary, Harvard Law professor Noah Feldman, says, look, if you don't if you don't send impeachment to the Senate, then the president is never actually impeached. So isn't this almost the definition of an empty threat?
I don't think that it is an empty threat, and I don't like the words threat. I think this is about our democracy. So what we're trying to do is to make sure that there's a fair trial. And when Senator McConnell, you're a juror. You're supposed to go in with an open mind and listen to the facts. There are more facts to be gathered. Says, I've already made up my mind and I'm going to do what the White House says. I don't call that a fair and impartial hearing or court trial.
Okay. I'm going to take one last crack at this because the Constitution is clear. And for all of the complaints from Republicans, well, you're not doing it right or wrong, the Constitution was very clear and very simple that impeachment is the sole purview of the House. It's equally clear. Article 1, Section 3 says this: the Senate shall have the sole power to try all impeachments. So according to the founders, let me finish. According to the founders, what happens in the Senate is none of the House, is none of your business.
All people are doing is making sure it's a fair trial. And oh, by the way, I've read that very same part of the Constitution. It doesn't say how quickly you have to move it from the House to the Senate. I think that you're going to see it go sooner than, quite frankly, Mitch McConnell maybe even like. I think he'd like to never have to try it and this shouldn't be a political moment in our nation's history. It's a sad moment. I wish that it had not been just a partisan vote. Somebody will yell at me for saying that. I don't think this is a good time in our country.